Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, industry-shaking shift that is happening right now in the service world. You know, for decades, the hospitality industry basically treated human resources as an administrative headache. It was just a pure cost center focused on payroll, compliance, and, well, making sure there were warm bodies to fill open slots on a schedule. But leading brands have completely woken up. They're now weaponizing HR to be their primary profit driver. So we're going to look at exactly how they're making that shift and why mastering hospitality human resources management is literally your ultimate competitive differentiator today. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our agenda for today. 1. People are the product. 2. Pillars of hospitality HR. 3. Overcoming industry hurdles. 4. Future trends in tech. And 5. The HR profit driver.
People are the product. The hospitality mindset shift.
This quote absolutely hit the nail on the head during our research. In the hospitality industry, your people are not just employees, they are the product. Think about that for a second. Unlike manufacturing or tech, where the product is some tangible widget or piece of software, in a hotel or a restaurant, the quality of the product is delivered directly through human interaction. If a guest has a really rough interaction at the front desk, well, that bad interaction instantly becomes the product they bought. Poor employee performance has an immediate, highly public impact on the guest experience. And that's exactly why HR in this space can't just be about pushing paperwork anymore. It has to be about cultivating genuine emotional intelligence and problem-solving skills under intense pressure.
And this brilliantly illustrates the transformation. Look at the outdated old HR model. It's strictly administrative. It's mostly reacting to sudden staffing shortages and forcing managers through those dreaded, incredibly awkward annual reviews. Modern HR is an entirely different beast. It acts as a true strategic business partner. It's proactive, it places a massive premium on emotional intelligence, and it thrives on continuous, real-time feedback instead of waiting 12 long months to tell an employee how they're doing.
Now, to actually achieve that modern HR model, your hiring strategy has to change from the ground up, which brings us to the concept of cultural fit. The modern approach prioritizes this above almost everything else. Cultural fit simply means a candidate's personal values and work style perfectly align with your property's service philosophy. The golden rule here: hire for warmth, teamwork, and a proactive attitude, and then train for the hard skills later. Seriously, you can easily teach someone how to use a complex point-of-sale system, but you really can't teach them to not roll their eyes at a frustrated guest.
Moving on to Section 2, Pillars of Hospitality HR. Let's look at the strategic framework.
A solid, comprehensive strategy really relies on these 5 interconnected pillars. Recruitment and selection must actively assess behavioral competencies. Continuous training and development has to go way beyond basic compliance to include cross-training and actual career pathways. Competitive compensation and benefits, those must be creatively designed. Think about how you're addressing the unique needs of shift workers, maybe offering transport support or meal plans. Performance management absolutely needs frequent feedback loops tied directly to service metrics. And finally, employee relations must guarantee a safe, highly communicative environment. It's like a giant puzzle. If any of these pillars are weak, the whole structure starts to wobble.
But here's the catch: none of those pillars hold up without strategic workforce planning. Instead of waiting for someone to quit and reacting to a sudden staff shortage, modern HR uses sophisticated forecasting models based on anticipated occupancy or big seasonal events. This lets you predict staffing needs months in advance. It completely prevents that constant, reactive, panic-driven scrambling for staff, ensuring the right number of people with the exact right skills are ready to go the moment they are needed.
All right, Section 3, Overcoming Industry Hurdles, the Strategic Challenges.
Of course, executing all of this is way easier said than done. These are the hurdles that are literally keeping general managers up at night. High employee turnover is consistently the #1 challenge, heavily driven by traditionally low wages and incredibly high-stress environments. And naturally, that feeds right into the second hurdle: attracting talent. The industry has to actively fight to improve its reputation there. Then we've got closing skill gaps, especially as digital guest communication becomes an absolute baseline. And finally, actively fostering a culture of diversity and inclusion so that all team members feel valued and actually see a real path for advancement.
So, the crucial point is this: staff often leave managers, not jobs. Actually, when we look at that massive turnover rate, we kind of have to look in the mirror. The ultimate weapon against turnover isn't just throwing a few extra cents an hour at the problem, it's investing heavily in supervisor training. By training managers to be empathetic coaches and superior communicators, you attack the root cause of why your best employees are walking out the door.
This brings us to Section 4, Future Trends in Tech. Let's talk about innovation in HR.
The expectations of the workforce are completely changing, and so are the tools we use to manage them. We're seeing the rise of the gig economy being utilized to fill shifts efficiently during peak demand. Artificial intelligence is now actively screening resumes, automating initial interviews, and incredibly, even analyzing employee sentiment to predict turnover risk before it happens. Brands are also vastly expanding well-being programs to include vital mental health resources to combat burnout. And finally, HR is shifting hard into data-driven decision-making, utilizing analytics to calculate training ROI and track employee productivity.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how these theories translate into the real world with industry titans. Take Marriott. Their culture-first approach, taking care of associates so they take care of customers, results in industry-low turnover. Four Seasons gives their frontline staff huge empowerment to resolve issues instantly without waiting for a manager, which creates world-renowned guest satisfaction. And Southwest Airlines famously prioritizes personality and attitude over technical skills. The result? Highly engaged, incredibly fun, and proactive service.
Technology is what makes these strategies scalable. Consider this staggering number, 40%. A large luxury hotel chain implemented a sophisticated, mobile-friendly digital HR information system for onboarding. By doing so, they cut the time it took to make a brand new hire fully productive by 40%. That is a massive operational victory.
And how about 80%? A mid-scale hotel brand recognized they were bleeding talent simply because people didn't see a future there. So they created a dedicated in-house leadership academy to develop entry-level managers into general managers. The result? They achieved an incredible 80% internal promotion rate for senior roles. Just imagine the boost in morale, not to mention the savings on external recruitment costs.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the HR profit driver, connecting people to ROI. It is time to connect all these soft people skills directly to the hard financial realities of the business. This brings us to the million-dollar question, literally. How does human resources management actually contribute to RevPAR, your revenue per available room? We need to fundamentally challenge the old mindset that HR is just some unavoidable administrative expense. Let's move to see how this builds, because there is a direct, undeniable pipeline here. Step 1. Effective HRM practices lead to better staff quality and retention. Step 2. That highly engaged staff naturally delivers superior service. Step 3. Superior service translates directly into higher guest satisfaction scores. You know, the glowing online reviews we all rely on. Step 4. Those high scores drive higher occupancy rates and give you the pricing power to charge a higher average daily rate, or ADR. So yes, engaged employees quite literally generate top-line revenue. But to prove this to your ownership or investors, you've got to track the right data. You must quantify your impact. You should be obsessively tracking your employee turnover rate, your time to hire, and your cost per hire. But most importantly, you need to measure the direct mathematical correlation between your internal employee engagement scores and your external guest satisfaction scores. When you have that data in hand, HR ceases to be an expense and completely proves itself as a vital investment.
This entire philosophy is perfectly captured by this idea. The future belongs to those who recognize that their people are not expenses to be minimized, but assets to be maximized. Look, if you're managing a property today by just trying to blindly cut labor costs, you are sacrificing your product quality, and you will eventually lose your market share, for sure.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Do you know the exact financial impact of every lost employee in your organization? And I don't just mean the cost to post a job listing online. I mean the cost of lost productivity, the strain on the remaining team, and the potential hit to the guest experience, the whole shebang. If you don't know that number, it's time to completely rethink your HR strategy. Dive into the metrics, start maximizing your most valuable assets, and transform your HR department into your ultimate competitive advantage. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.